this subject matter that we're taking up today with somebody very qualified to discuss it is designed to give you a scientific approach to male and female relationships, right? Not just whimsical, not just emotional, not dreamy type of relationships, which we are used to, you just see someone for the first time, I love you. Someone just sees you for I love you. And we're going to discuss these things. Is it possible to have love at first sight, without even hearing someone's voice, without knowing anything about them? We want to discuss these things. So tonight on this very special show, now that you've sent that extra text message, now that you've put in that extra call, now that you've eluded someone who should be here and not wait until after the show in an hour's time. Boy, you should have been on it tonight, boy, it was.
Come on.
No. Do it now. Front load your love, front load your friendship, and front load your brotherhood and your sisterhood by apprising them of what we're about to discuss in advance. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce and present to some of you. If you don't know Brother Nuri Muhammad, then I don't know what's happening. But if you don't, he's a brother I was blessed to meet. How long ago, Nuri? It must have been about 25 years ago when we were in Chicago. And you offered to give me a lift home, and we both got lost. Do you remember?
That's right. For the record, I was only 19 years old and had just moved to Chicago 2 weeks before you needed that ride. But just a disclaimer.
So we both got lost trying to get to the south suburbs. But back in those days, there was no mobile
GPS.
phone.
Yeah, come on.
So it takes tremendous love and regard for someone to offer to take you to your place of abode, which is an hour away, who doesn't know the city, who just moved 2 weeks prior to the invitation or to the request. So I thank you for that day, brother, because I finally made it home. And you obviously made it back.
And I moved back home after that trip. I came back to Indianapolis. But the beauty of it is that, we accidentally on purpose developed a bond and a brotherhood that we probably wouldn't have the ingredients that are present between us now had it not been for us being personally misguided on our path, but being guided by the God to stay together for a few extra minutes.
Absolutely right. We've been on various trips and been to different places together, and by God's grace,
That's right.
we continue to support and help each other until we overcome all of the wicked forces that currently dominate our planet. So without any further delay, spiritual injection, please take your devices off mute and receive our special guest, our brother, Minister Nuri Muhammad. Please receive him with spiritual injection.
Welcome, brother.
Welcome, brother. Welcome,
Nuri. So
Welcome,
wonderful
brother.
to see you on spiritual
See you, brother
injection.
Nuri.
Thank you. All praise is due to Allah, not some of the praise and not most of the praise, but all praise belongs to Allah, the one true God. I am so blessed and honored to be able to share space and time with one of the greatest soldiers that our nation has ever produced, and our brother Minister Hakeem Muhammad, and to be on this wonderful platform that has a universal approach and appeal to solving not just one or two, but all the problems that we are plagued with as a people. Thank you for blessing me to share this space and time with you all, Sister Savina and Sister Tara, and of course, my brother, Hakeem. Thank you so much for the time and invitation.
Thank you, sir. So we look forward, Brother Nuri, for you to give us an overview of this wonderful book that you have written that we look forward to in the very near future, hosting you in the UK live and in person. We're just working out your visas and your transport.
Inshallah, we can make it happen whenever, we get the green light to do so.
Absolutely.
Brother Hakeem, what hurt me over the years is that as we were being invited across the country to speak at various different events. It was churches, mosques, colleges, universities, sometimes organizations, corporate luncheons, banquets. Almost every invitation after we finished doing that which was designed for the service of liberation and salvation of our people, all the hosts of the events would always pull 95% of the time, pull me to the side in the hotel and start asking me and letting me know the problems they were having in relationships. And it hurt me so bad because, see, when marriage is done right, your home should be your spiritual recharge center where you can unplug from this no good, wicked, white supremacist world and come to a place called home that is full of pure love, where you can unwind, unwrap, let your guard down, let your firewall down, and plug into a source of peace and power that inspires you to go back into the world to fight for the rise of your people, fight for the establishment of business and an economic and social legacy for your people. But if you go out into the world and you're beat by your enemy, and then you come home and are beat again, how will those that are at the forefront of the rise of our people ever be effective and efficient at the craft of leading and teaching if they're plagued with problems at home? So out of that, I got personally tired of the sidebars, and I said, let me get in the lab and produce some books to help this damnable problem that is zapping the energy of these great ones that are doing good work, but they're probably performing at 30 or 40% of their personal power because they're catching hell at home and catching hell in the world.
Yes.
So Before You Say I Do was my first book. This is designed to help you whenever you want to properly plant your love. And then After You Say I Do is the book that we wrote designed to help you if you've already planted your love and some weeds have grown in your relationship. We can help you pull the weeds and sprinkle some divine fertilizer on the bond that you'll be able to have a love that lasts a lifetime. So from that math became the product. And we found, when you look at the statistics, and I know you've taught this in various different platforms, we were told by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that whenever the white man in America was discussing whether he was going to allow Black people, or at that time they called us Negroes, to receive higher education, they met in the halls of Congress in 1867, and listen to what they said. They said, yeah, we'll let Negroes go to college, but there's two things that must be in place. Number one, they can't go to school with us. And number two, whatever university or college they go to, there are three sciences that must never be taught to the slaves. And that was the science of warfare, the science of finance, and the science of mating. And mating, of course, has two sides to it. It means, number one, finding one from the opposite sex that you can marry. And then the other side of mating is that just as when horses or animals come together, they don't just come together for each other, they produce something. So the other side of mating is parenting. So we have an epidemic right now where we have a 75% divorce rate among Black people, meaning that out of every 4 marriages that you see, 3 of them are not going to make it. Do you know, in that same year, Brother Hakeem, in 1867, based upon a McKinley-Irvin family law study, they found this, that 9 out of 10 adult Black men and women were married.
Wow. And
listen, with a near 100% success ratio till death did them part.
wow.
Now today, we have look at this, a 25%, no, excuse me, a 40% ratio of those eligible adults that could be married are married, and a 75% divorce. So if 40% broken into a number is 4 out of 10, and then if 3/4 won't make it, then out of the 4 out of 10, only 1 out of 10 adults that actually could be married will actually get married and stay married. So we know that where there are no strong marriages, you can't have strong families.
Right.
And where there are no strong families, you cannot have a strong community. And without strong communities, you can't have a strong nation. So marriage becomes the cornerstone of all nation building. You can't get the hood right.
Right.
Until we get this house right.
Right.
And that's where it all started. And I hope we can dive into it and we can start that repair process today.
Fantastic. So with the world in which we live in, Brother Nuri, being real focused on passion and sexuality and, you know, materialism, how are we ever going to break through the barriers of so much, not just materialism, but also passion and lust that really fills the airways on every level? And now children, particularly here in the United Kingdom, are being taught, you know, sex education in primary school, okay?
Yeah,
and in addition to that, being taught, you know, that maybe men can marry men, maybe women can marry women. So it's such a confusing environment for relationships. How do we even start to get back to those sterling statistics that you started off quoting?
Well, this is very important to remember. You know, number one, you know, there's a saying that opportunity knocks once, but there should be an attached to that, but temptation leans on the doorbell.
Right.
Especially in the world that we're living in. Everywhere you go, there's a pull to drink this, smoke this, lay down with this person, lay down with that person. And lust has replaced love in the human dynamic. So it's nothing wrong with seeking material things. It's nothing wrong with the acquisition of money. In fact, it's something wrong if you don't. Am I saying something wrong? Look, it's written in the gospel of Big Mama. Now, y'all know Big Mama got a gospel. There's some stuff Big Mama said that's just as true as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Right.
Birds of a feather
stick together.
Come on now, that's Big Mama. That didn't Matthew didn't say that. You lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. That's not a Quran verse. That's Big Mama. A family that prays together.
Stays together.
That's Big Mama said that. That wasn't John or Mark. That's Big Mama. Look at this one. Dealing with money. Big Mama said this: romance without finance is a nuisance.
That's right.
So I think it's important that we put it in its proper perspective. Jesus said it like this: seek ye first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness. Stop right there.
Mm.
He didn't say seek ye only.
Mm. Right.
Seek ye first. Well, if he's saying seek ye first, then there's some second and some third seekings.
Right.
So the dynamic is seek ye first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, but them second seekings are life skills. The third seekings are economics and ways that you can generate revenue for yourself. Fourth seekings could be health or whatever the order you want to put it in. But the reality is spiritual does come first, but it does not come only. You have to have some second and some third seekings. So there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's a verse in Ecclesiastes 10:19. Listen to this. It says, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh one merry, but money answereth all things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying we agree 100% with what, you know, what they said, but the point is that it's very important. And money ain't everything. No, listen, I'm not trying to say that money is not everything, but it is right up there with oxygen.
Yes, sir. I remember someone said
in a relationship, in that sense, you know, there has to be proper priority and a proper pecking order or a chain of command by which one distributes their energy so that they can become proficient and skilled at. We shouldn't, if we would, Brother Hakeem, I'm gonna just say this, if we would put as much time into the marriage as we did into the wedding,
Yeah.
that within and of itself would solve a high percentage of our problems. Look at how the sisters will eat one bite of an apple and 2 little crackers for 9 months to fit in that dress. Look at how patient the brothers are, how many gifts the brother give, how kind and how many doors they open and how much restaurant treating and all that to get the person. And then when it comes time for the wedding, they're spending thousands of dollars, reading magazine, Pinterest, hiring coaches and help, and they got rice and bubbles and color-coded gowns and horses and, you know, coming off the bomber plane, getting dropped off from outer space. You know how we put a lot of money into the wedding.
Yeah.
But how much energy and time do we put in studying for marriage? If the wedding is at best a 1 hour out of your life, but whenever you come before the altar, you say, through richer or poor, better or worse, in sickness and in health, till death do me part, then wouldn't it make more sense that we would put more time into the study of what we are making as a lifetime decision than the 1 hour event in front of people? So that within and of itself, I think by prioritizing it, putting the spiritual as number one, but making the acquisition of the knowledge of that science of mating, that science of finance, and that science of warfare at the top of the list at them second and third seekings after we seek the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, we would be skilled to perform better in the institution of marriage.
So it seems as if we've got to stop trying to outdo each other in vain pursuits and seek more substance, because sometimes it could be just a trend where people are having babies, a trend people are getting married, a trend people are becoming engaged, right? And different things. So they're trend driven. So in order for us to be education driven, what is that going to take? You know, for us to approach male and female relationships from a scientific perspective, and maybe our parents don't even know, you know,
There it is.
how to approach things scientifically, because their union was, you know, in accordance with the tradition of their time, right? Mm-hmm. So in this modern time, in this high-tech time, you know, where you can just go online now and match yourself or be matched, you know, with somebody else, what would you recommend as the best way for, you know, two individuals to come together?
Look at this scripture. Lean not on thine own understanding. Watch this. But in all thy ways acknowledge him. Talking about capital H-I-M. Anytime in scripture you see a capital H in front of he or him, that's not a regular person, that's a God. That's God right there. Right. But in all thine ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths and show you the way. So we have to see, if it's saying lean not on thine own understanding, what that means, anytime you're leaning on something, you're looking for support. What God is saying is that I've been watching man for trillions of years, and I'm telling you, your own understanding does not have the ability nor the authorities to support you long term. So if you lean on it, if you lean on something that can't support you, you're going to fall and hurt yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's what's happening to us. We're leaning on our own understanding. So by going through a harmony, e-harmony, or match this, or you know, swipe right, swipe what, all that's leaning on your own understanding. There's a criterion that you should be looking for whenever you are thinking about a mate. I learned this from the minister, that there's a scientific formula for compatibility. We were at the table once, and he said that anytime that you're thinking about engaging into marrying someone, you should make sure they're compatible. He said, how will you know? He said, make a list of what the ideal man looks like to you as a woman for you. Make a list of what an ideal woman looks like to you as a man. And then whoever you are entertaining, make sure that they already match up and present 70% of what you're looking for. Think about, so if I come up with a list of 10 things, whoever I'm thinking about that's going to be my wife or my husband as a woman, they should already have 7 out of 10 present in their personality. If you marry someone that has 3 out of 10 and think that you're going to be to do something, to cook and do this and love and put on this, and all of a sudden the other 7 is going to come, let me tell you something, you will not be marrying you a partner, you'll be marrying you a project.
Right.
Is that
you don't marry a project, you're supposed to marry a partner that helps you with some projects.
Right.
And disclaimer, 2 things. Number 1, after you make that list, whoever you're thinking about, don't show them the list.
Right.
As soon as you show them the list, they're gonna try to fake like they are that.
Right.
Then number 2, I see you. If you in the audience right now with your phone out, typing in your notes and you making your list. If you a sister and you got tall, dark skin and bald head, if physical traits is at the top of the list, you need to erase that right now.
Right.
The first thing that should be on your list when it comes to mate selection are spiritual traits.
Right.
Second should be personality traits, that meaning the kind of person you like. And then if you want to put some physical traits on there after that, you can. And if you need to know what the spiritual traits should be, get the book, the Holy Quran, and turn to the 33rd chapter and the 35th verse. And there's 10 spiritual traits that you'll read about men and women that should be present if a woman wants to be with that man and if a man wants to be with that woman. The believing men, the charitable men, the sacrificing men, the fasting men, those who remember Allah much, patient, truthful, honest, etc. That's what you should have at the top of your list. Then you should have, what kind of personality do you want them to have? Do they match you? You outgoing and you a people person, you don't want to marry somebody that don't want to do nothing but sit in the house and play video games. Right. You got to marry someone that has the same kind of affinities for things that you have. And then if you see that person as you're going through the process of courting and weighing evidence, if they match up to 70%, that's compatibility. That's a partner.
So for those in our
only got 30%.
So for those in our audience, for those in our audience, Nuri, who are not spiritually inclined, what would you advise them?
Well, it's the same formula. That's why I said, if you don't have the book, get it, because you still have the spiritual traits. Who wants to be, do you want to be married to a liar? See, the trait was the honest person. So when you look at these traits that are being mentioned, these traits are universal and are applicable to you, whether you believe in whatever religious or spiritual system. You want your husband to be a truthful person. You want your wife to be honest. You want them to be charitable, meaning that they are willing to put service of others above themselves. You want them to be patient, because if a man that you're with, you don't care about them being patient, they got a temper, that normally leads to domestic violence. So you want them to be patient. So the traits that are mentioned, whether you believe in Allah, Islam, Muhammad, whatever you want to say, get that book and read them. Matter of fact, just Google it. Google it and see those traits. And then for the rest, of course, you get a chance to pick those personality traits that you like in a person. And then when you're interviewing, courting, weighing the evidence, if you got 7 out of 10, that's a good chance that compatibility is present. But if you settle for 3 out of the 10, again, you won't have a partner, you'll have a project. And you don't want someone that's a project, you want someone that's a partner that can help you with some projects.
Very good. So, Sister Sylvina, Sister Tara, I know there are many females in our audience. So, would you like to, on behalf of our sisters, please engage our special guest, Nuri Mahab?
Definitely. Thank you, brother. You mentioned, making a list. And this is for men or for women. So, you make a list of, and you gave obviously, good directive in terms of what the list should consist of. But sometimes men and women don't know what they want. And I know you've given us, okay, look for spiritual traits, look for personality traits, but even in, I think, especially with the personality traits, I believe sometimes that can go askew because you may think you want something, but actually you don't know yourself enough to know what you want. So what advice would you give?
See, you said something though, Sister Savina.
Yeah.
You said in the closing, you don't know yourself well enough to know what you want. You cannot build a solid relationship until you first become a solid individual. Now, I know that most people won't tell you this because they want to try to encourage you to hurry up and get married. But I'm gonna say it, Brother Hakeem.
Yes, sir.
Being married is harder than being single.
Right.
So if you're bad at being single, you're going to be horrible at being married. So I would suggest, of course, that the first pursuit in life should not be your partner. Your first pursuit in your life should be your purpose.
Right.
If you don't know your purpose and you find a partner first and your purpose later, you might find that the person you picked as a partner is in contradiction to your purpose for living.
Right.
But when you know who you are and your strengths and weaknesses and what you like, then you can find that in the mate that you're looking for. And when you know your purpose, you know the kind of person that you can or could be your help meet in that assignment or that purpose. But if you don't come to the table with a purpose and personal awareness, then you will pick someone that may be good for somebody else, but not necessarily good for you. And I also want to say this too. Make sure you're single before you ever try to get married. And there's many dimensions to being single. Most people think they're single because they live at home by themselves. That's one dimension of being single. That means you're single in house. But you also have to be single in mind and single in heart. What does it mean to be single in mind? See, if you are a woman that holds the opposite sex with resentment in your heart based off of what a man or men did in the past, you're not yet single in mind because you're going to put on the new one the mistakes of the old ones. If you're not single in heart, to be single in heart means that you no longer have romantic or spousal love for someone you used to be with. If you get married just because you're single in house, but you're not single in heart, in your mind, you're going to be wishing that you still was with the one you had love for.
Right.
If you get married because you were single in house, but you weren't single in mind, then whatever that man is will be multiplied by what other men were, and that's unjust to him. So vice versa for the brothers as well. So that's important. You have to really strive to find your purpose before you find your partner, because if not, you might find a partner first, purpose later, and find your partner is not a fit for your purpose. Purpose was chosen by God for you. Partner was chosen by you for yourself. I think purpose trumps partner because God chose it while we chose the other.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I had a few questions, but you keep answering my questions with each answer that you give because they're so thorough. But I do want to ask this. because you kind of answered it, but I do want to know if a man is seeking a wife, but does not, I won't say he has a job, maybe he's working, but he doesn't have any ambition, or he's, I don't want to say okay with being mediocre. Say he doesn't have any ambition, he's somewhat mediocre or okay with being a mediocre and not striving to be his best self. And I'm trying to say this in a nice way.
It's so nice, Terry, your question.
I'm getting it, though. I'm getting it the right way, regardless.
Should that type of man be in search of a wife?
A man that does not know where that he is going does not need any help getting there. That's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. A man that does not know where he is going does not need any help getting there. Hell, if you don't know where you're going, you're already there.
Right.
So to go back to Sister Savina, because there was another question in her question that kind of ties into what you're saying, Sister Tara, is this. A good description, this is a sister that asked the minister a question once on Twitter. She said to the minister, "Brother minister, how will I know a good man when I meet one?" I said, man, that is a good question. And I was assuming, Brother Hakeem, that this was a sister that may have been 17 or 18 years of age,
Right.
that hasn't been out into the world yet and was waiting and trying to see and make a good choice. But I met the sister
Right.
years later after the question, and I used this in a lecture, and she came and said that was me. She was over 50 years old.
Wow.
And married.
Wow.
I said, you mean to tell, I didn't say this to her, but I was thinking, my poor sisters has spent a half a century on the planet and actually has gotten married and still is asking the question, how will I know a good man when I see one? And the minister gave this answer, sisters. He said, sisters, study the Lord's Prayer. That's what a good man looks like. Wow. Our Father who art in what? Heaven. Heaven is up, meaning that a good man is someone that you should be able to look up to. Sister Tara, you cannot look up to a lazy man.
Right.
You cannot look up to a man that is satisfied with mediocrity.
Right.
You only can look up to a man that's a go-getter and that's a hunter. That's somebody that wants to make something happen, that wants to build something, that wants to constantly make improvements and advancement mentally, morally, spiritually, and financially.
Yeah.
Can't look up to no man that don't want nothing out of life. So and then it says, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Well, a person's name means their reputation, meaning you want a man that has an honorable reputation. So any man you're considering, you should be able to ask people that know that man and the past interaction with that man, and all of them should be able to say something good. He should have an honorable reputation. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. See, a real man doesn't hope for things or wish for things. A real man wills things into existence. So a man that has no ambition has no willpower. The minister said it like this. He said, to the extent of the will that you have in you is the extent of the God you have in you. He said, a man with no will is a man with no God in him.
Right.
So you want someone that doesn't just wish and hope and pray. You want somebody that knows how to will things into existence. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Give us this day our what?
Daily bread.
Right.
Well, in America, there's a lot of synonyms for money. Skrill, dough, scratch, bank, cheddar, guap, the bag.
And bread.
And guess what else is one? Bread.
Mhm.
So if a real man is somebody that's making daily bread, if you work for the white man, he don't give you daily bread, he give you weekly or bi-weekly bread. So the only way you get daily bread is if you in business for yourself.
Right.
See, that's the kind of man you're looking for. Then it says, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin or trespass against us. In other words, you want a man that's not petty, not grudge holding. Then it goes on to say, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. You don't want a man that tells the children to do this and do this right, but he lives wrong. You want him to be an example of what he says. You want him to be practicing what he preaches. You want his video to match his audio. Because at the end of the day, what they're going to say is, well, what you are is so loud, I can't hear a word you're saying. So children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So you want a man that is setting an example of living life, the kind of life that he's imposing upon his family. You see that, you'll know what a good man looks like. And if you want to know what a good woman looks like, get you an amplified Bible and read that Proverbs 31 woman. And if you're a man, if you want to be a good man, look at that Lord's Prayer and strive to be it. And if you're a woman and want to be a good woman, look at Proverbs 31 and strive to manifest it. And if I'm striving to be the Lord's Prayer man, you're striving to be the Proverbs 31 woman, it's only a matter of time if we come together that we're going to be able to produce a heaven for ourselves while we're alive.
So what would you advise, Brother Nuri, when, just like the sister asked the question, but she's in a situation? Now, that means the answer came to her late in the day, right? And she finally came into the presence of somebody who she believed would have the answers to questions that were burning in her heart. So what would you advise now? Now the answer's here, my life is screwed up. What do I do from here?
Well, didn't I say something about pulling the weeds and sprinkling the fertilizer?
Right.
After you say I do book, it's good for that. Let me say this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this, sisters. He said, sisters, you did not marry the man of your dreams. The man of your dreams is inside the man that you married. Get to mining him out. Wow. Well, I've never been mining before, but I watched it on the Discovery Channel. And there's certain things that you have to do to effectively get gold and diamonds out of the earth. And some of that can be transmuted into how a woman can get that dream man out of the current man and vice versa. One of the first things that has to happen before anybody goes into the mine is they have to send a canary into the mine to see how fragile the mine is and can they even strike it in a way that they can get to the valuable without destroying what they hit. So there has to be a certain kind of kindness and gentleness on the part of the man and the woman that's trying to get the best out of each other. And you have to take on in speech the tone and personality of that canary. Be soft, be kind. Then the miner has to have on a helmet. That means that there's some rocks are gonna fall. It's gonna be some offending going on every now and then. But it's not just a helmet, it's a helmet with a light on it.
Right.
Saying to us that if we're gonna mine out of the woman or the man that we're with, that dream man or woman, we have to have the light. We have to have knowledge in our head. And I'm gonna say you this, sisters, most men have very, very fragile egos. And they're easily hurt and offended by any criticism. So there's a secret formula that you can avoid criticism and complaining and still be able to get the best out of your man. Y'all ready? praise what you want to raise. Praise what you want to raise. Whatever characteristic, attribute, or function you want to see in your man, praise it when he does it, and you'll raise it in his mind as a priority to keep doing it. Men generally gravitate wherever the applause is. So instead of criticizing or complaining about what he doesn't do, every time he does what you like him to do or you want him to do, make over it, praise it, and he'll naturally begin to gravitate toward. And if what you praise, he's only been doing a couple times a year, make over it the 2 times he does it, and watch next year it becomes 6 times. And then the next year, if you like it, keep praising it. And the next year after that, it'll become 20, until eventually what you praise, you raise, there won't even be any time left or energy in the body of the man to do anything that you would complain or criticize. He'll be 100% doing that which is satisfactory and pleasing to you, because he loves the applause, the praise, and the attention and the admiration that comes from his woman for being and doing what he's being and doing. That's how you do it. That's how you become a divine miner. That's how you extract the man of your dreams out of the man that you're with, and the male can do the same thing. Praise what you want to raise. Don't condemn and criticize and complain about what you don't like. No, praise what you want to raise. And by accentuating the positive, you will automatically eliminate the negative. Try it and see if it works.
So Nuri, I have a question with regards to this mining, because I love the analogy, but sometimes people can confuse mining for a project. How do you distinguish between the two? Because, you know, if the man or the woman isn't there yet, okay, and they have potential qualities that you can mine out, how do you distinguish that?
Well, it is somewhat of a project, but before you even see, there's nobody that mines a location that hasn't already proven itself in many ways to have the valuables there.
Right.
So there has to be something already present on the surface before a company's willing to start bringing in all this expensive drilling equipment and spending all this money to get this oil or to get these diamonds or this gold out of the earth. So the question is, how many signs did you see on the surface when you first purchased that land? Now, if you decided to purchase some land because it had 1 drop of oil, and you think that the whole 5 acres is going to be able to start producing gushers for you, come to find out that oil that you seen on top of the ground didn't come from underneath the earth. It was a broke down pickup truck that been sitting in that spot with a leak for 2 days. Now you got a problem. So technically, that mining process still should have rendered in your choice to even start mining enough characteristics, attributes, personality traits, spiritual traits on the surface that met up to your 70%. Otherwise, you don't want to buy that land because it's a strong possibility there ain't no oil down there. It just was an oil leak from a pickup truck that broke down right there for 3 days.
I want to go back to Till Death Us Do Part. Now, many, and obviously as fathers and elders, if we have children, we would all want to see them get married before they engage in sexual activity with a younger man or another young lady. Now, how does a young person who is in their teens or early 20s, how do they choose a life's partner? And what sorts of vision does the man or the woman need to have in order to say, till death do us part? Because they may just live a long time, right? And if someone's getting married in their late teens, early 20s, and they may have 70 years ahead of them, what kind of vision, what kind of goals do they need to have within their minds in order for them to really say till death do us part in a substantive way before they start running out of visionary goals that they had originally set themselves?
Well, again, Brother Hakeem, I would kind of go back to the statement, try to find your purpose before you start looking for a partner. Make sure that you have found your purpose and that you are doing those things necessary to operate in your purpose before you find that partner. So your primary investment at a very young age should not be the opposite sex or a partner. It should be your purpose for living. What are you born to do? What craft, what skill set do you have that you're supposed to offer as a contribution to the world to make the world a better place? The minister said this, he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that the simplest formula to know what your purpose is look, he said, just think about what you're good at and what you love to do. And he said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what you're good at and what you love to do is more than likely what you're born to do. So start there. And then if you want longevity, they did an interview in 2012 where they reported the findings in 2012 on a show in America called The Today Show. And they had traveled, Brother Hakeem, all around the world studying relationships that were married and happy for 65 plus years. And they were trying to figure out what is the common traits among all of these couples that have them not just married, but happily married for over 65 years. And when the math was done, guess what they found? Friendship is the longevity ingredient that makes men and women stay together till death do us part. So no matter what age you are, if you are considering marrying somebody that's going to be your partner for life, you don't want them just to be somebody you love. You want them to be somebody you like.
Right.
That you like being around. That's your friend, that you all actually like doing the same things together and you all make each other laugh. You make each other happy. And if you find that friendship, that like and that love, that's a good combination that you all can make it. But if you don't, you come into the relationship where you're being too anal, if you will, where I'm looking for a man that's going to maintain, protect, and provide. I'm looking for a woman that is going to comfort and console and be my helpmeet. Maintain, protect, provide, comfort, console, help me. And you all are not looking for husbands and wives. You're looking for employees. A man is more than an ATM machine, a handyman, and a personal bodyguard. And a woman is more than a chef, a maid, and a pleasure box.
Right.
If that's what you're looking for, you're not looking for love. You're looking for employees.
Right.
That if I do my part, you do your part, and you'll be in your house, and all y'all be doing is keeping score.
Right.
Paid the bills, therefore you should cook. I cooked for you, therefore you should buy me those shoes. I bought you those shoes, therefore you should rub my back. And it's just, I mean, come on now. There's no friendship, there's no love, there's no fun in that. Let me tell you something. If you're married and you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
It's supposed to be fun to you. You're supposed to enjoy each other. So young brothers and sisters, look for your purpose before your partner, and make sure whoever you are picking as your partner is not someone that you just love and that can meet up to the job description of a man or a woman, but making sure it's somebody that you like, that you can call your best friend. You do that, you'll be able to make it 65 plus years till death do you part, and you will be happily married. You will have your happily ever after in real life.
Fantastic. So tell me, just before I go back to Sister Tara and Sister Sylvina, what is then the basis of people who say, well, you know, we were doing okay at a certain point and we just outgrew each other. Or I outgrew her or she outgrew him. Like, what's the basis of, you know, outgrowing one another? So therefore the love, the compassion, the friendship, all of these elements that make up the relationship, they just then disintegrate and die.
Well, we in counseling sessions that of couples that have said this, I've noticed consistently, not sometime, not most, all the times when people say that, it's because they're living separate lives, but operating from the same house. So they are really just roommates,
Right.
not necessarily husbands and wives. If you go together, you should grow together.
Right.
See, if whoever you're with is not helping you evolve, you should not be involved. So that's the thing. You're supposed to be helping each other by being involved, evolve. If you're going together, you should grow together. There's no such thing. The minister said this. He said, it is in the nature of the woman to want to equal herself up to the man. There's no such thing as a man that is growing vertically and moving forward and up at the same time, making progress in life, and he not have a woman that wants to come along that journey with him and become the same in her own way. So at the end of the mathematics, if someone is outgrowing the other, it's because normally they are roommates, not husbands and wives. Because if they really were going together, they would grow together. If they really were involved with each other, they would evolve with each other. And if the problem is there, it's generally because the man is not growing. Because if the man is growing, the nature of the female is going to be to equal herself up to that man, and she will grow with you. So that's an impediment that can be fixed easily. All that means is that we as the husbands have to continue to grow and mature in knowledge, wisdom, understanding, economics, health, strength, every category of life. As long as we keep going up, she's gonna come with us.
Fantastic. So just with closing comments, Sister Tara and Sister Sylvina, because we've taken up a considerable amount of Brother Nuri's time. So as we wind down, are there closing questions you would like to ask our beautiful brother?
Yes. Okay. So
She said yes.
yes, because you know I've been writing. So I have a question about, well, I have several, but I want to ask this one. When I think about single mothers raising children on their own in the community, we know we have a high incidence of that. What advice would you give them, especially those who are raising girls and boys, to raise them in such a way that they still can grow up and have a healthy mindset with regard to relationships and marriage? And I'm asking that question because I personally have like family and friends who are raising daughters to say, I don't need a man, and raising sons who are dependent on, you know, they're not strong and go-getters, they're kind of dependent on the mom. So they're kind of raising the daughters to be really strong and raising their sons to be weak. I don't know if that's the right word, but.
Oh, it's true. That's bass accurate. You gotta So this is the dynamic. There's a saying that in order to be a man, you have to meet a man. However, you look at Jesus, you look at the minister. These are two men that became what they are, that the whole world loves and admires, without the presence of a quote unquote biological father both raised by single Black mothers. So don't say as a single Black mother that it's impossible to make a man of strength. We've got examples in front of us that I just laid out there. Look at them. You can do it. However, it is our assignment. See, this is what's wrong with us, as Brother Hakeem was opening with kind of a cry in his voice on the systems that we are using to make decisions. We are using a Eurocentric concept and Eurocentric concepts and Eurocentric systems for the decisions that we make. There's a book out called Slavery and Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, written by, I believe it's Naeem. I can't remember the first name. But anyhow, the doctors, they did an assessment on the decision-making process of Black people, present time, versus the decision-making process of Black people before slavery. Do you know that they found that right now, in current time, that 94% of the decisions Black people make are rooted in plantation life, and only 6% of the decisions we make come from our God-centered African culture. So I'm saying that to say that the Eurocentric concept of parenting and raising children is that you have to have a quote unquote nuclear family, husband and wife, and it is the assignment of the mother and the father alone to make sure those children become somebody. But before we were kidnapped and Caucasianized and Westernized by the enemy, we had an axiom in Africa. Listen what it says. It takes a village to raise a child. Not one Black woman, not a good father and a good mother, but a whole village. So when we get back to even calling each other brothers and sisters like we should, see, if I'm your brother, Sister Tara, and you're my sister, your son is my nephew and my daughter is your niece.
Right.
Right.
So I don't sit and look at my nephew and you don't sit and look at my niece and then go tell somebody how messed up our children are, because at the end of the day, that's my family.
Right.
We help each other. So when we take on the spirit of being brothers and sisters to each other, by proxy, we become uncles and aunts to the children that are in the village. And if the men would see every little Black boy and little Black girl as a nephew and a niece, and if the women would see every little Black girl and little Black girl as a nephew and a niece, then we wouldn't have to rely on or really be overly concerned with a single Black mother being alone or her having to have a man to do. No, even if you got a good man and a good woman together, children can still go bad.
Right.
We need all hands on deck.
Right.
Everybody in the community has to look out for the young future rulers of our planet. The youth is everybody's business, and we must be invested in it more than 401k, IRAs, bonds, trusts, whatever. Our number one investment as a people should be in our children.
Absolutely.
If we did that, you know, they will be able to be okay. But if we don't reach that level of social maturity as a people in a fast enough time, be Mary, be Mother Samaya, Farrakhan's mother, be like them, and you can produce a Jesus and a Farrakhan even without a man.
Excellent. Sister Sylvina, you got the final question.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna take it from the chat. It's quite a big one, Brother Nuri, so I'm sorry, but I need to share it with you. It's very good. Would you advocate one staying in a marriage where forgiveness for transgressions has been given time and time again, but there is no change or personal happiness? Where is then the point of giving up on a marriage? Read verbatim.
Well, only you know your breaking point. See, the mathematical formula that one should employ to determine whether or not that there's believability that the person you're with is ever going to change and whether or not it's time to move on is you have to ask, okay, how many offenses of this nature have they participated in? How many times have they said what they're not going to do and they keep or repeat offender? Also, think about in the equation, what wrongs have I done in the relationship that might cross out some of those wrongs that they've done? How much of a good wife have I been that I could be so hard on him for not being a good husband? You're the only one that knows what you've done, good and bad. You're the only one that knows their pros and cons and how much good deeds they've done that outweigh their bad deeds. So it is your own spiritual formula that you have to work out in your own mind after calculating what they've done, how many times they've done, the good that they've done, how much does that cross out, how much bad that you've done does it cross out on their side to judge them, and how much good and how great of a mate have you been to justify that it's time for me to say I'm done. And when you do that math in your own mind, you know your breaking point. It is your choice. Now, I will say to you this, that there's a scripture that people like to quote, that all sins are created equal. That's not true. All sins are not created equal. You can't tell me that a man not putting down the toilet seat is equal to a man beating his wife.
Right.
You can't tell me that a man that steals out of his wife's purse is equal to a man that said he was going to wash the dishes and left them dirty for 2 days.
Right.
They're offenses, but they're not equal.
Right.
So you have to weigh what are the offenses that you're talking about? How great are they? And do that mathematical calculation, and you have to make that decision on your own. Know this, that love, no matter how hard you think you love, if you don't feed it, love will die.
Mhm.
But anytime you're in a relationship and now you have been consistently in violation of the first law of nature, which is self-preservation, then you are being greatly unjust to yourself and you need to confess your faults. But if you stay in the relationship and you want to let yourself gain 75 pounds and watch all your hair fall out, your blood pressure's out of whack, your eyes are red, you're tired all the time, you're miserable, you're crying, you're depressed, all because of you being with that person, then you're in violation of the first law of nature, which is self-preservation. If you being with somebody is causing you to lose yourself, you got to make a decision on considering who's more important, them or me. That's your decision that you have to make. None of us can give you a calendar, a time, or the mathematics of the offenses, good deeds weighing out bad deeds. They're good. Nobody can do that for you but you. I hope that answers the question to our viewer.
Well said and priceless.
Yeah.
Well said and priceless. So we cannot thank you enough, Brother Minister Nuri, for taking the time out of your super busy schedule to share time and space and guidance and wisdom with us this evening. All around the world, what you're saying is being translated live into French and into Malagasy and also, I believe, into Serbian. So we're going all over the world. So with that being said, Brother Minister, what would you like to leave our audience with this evening?
Just remember this, brothers and sisters, that the most important decision you will ever make in your life after choosing belief in God is choosing the right one to spend the rest of your life with. The mate you choose will either confine you to complacency or they'll inspire you to grow into your greatness. They'll either be your other half or they'll make you half of yourself. The minister said it like this: A good relationship brings out the best in you and makes you more youthful. And a bad relationship will bring out the worst in you and cause you to age prematurely. So make sure that you are very critical at choosing the one you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Because after choosing God, that one's going to be the most important decision that you'll ever make. And if you choose the right one, you'll see yourself get youthful. If you choose the right one, you'll see the best start coming out of you. If you choose the right one, you'll see that you will be inspired to grow into your greatness. And that will ultimately help us as a people become a greater people, because at the end of the day, the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. The better we become, the better our nation will become. I hope that helps out today, and I look forward to, hopefully, Brother Akeem, if I can come back soon, I'm here and ready to serve.
Yes, sir. We look forward to a part 2. So those of you who would like a part 2 in the audience, take your devices off mute and let our special guest Nuri Muhammad know that.
Oh yes, definitely part 2. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, brother.
Fantastic, good brother.
Them, sir. Thank you. Wonderful.
30 days.
Thank you, brother Nuri. That was amazing.
Thank you, Brother Nuri.
That was amazing.
There's a lot of love being shown, Nuri. So we've
Absolutely
posted all
wonderful.
of your handles in the chat. So is there any upcoming events or any upcoming projects that you're working on that you would like to apprise our audience of?
Well, for you all being where you are across the pond, I just would say, go to NuriMuhammad.com. And if you have anybody in the States, check out my social media accounts to see where we're going. I think I leave in the morning for Buffalo, New York, for a couple of seminars. If you're across the pond, if you know anyone in the States, if you're across the pond like you are, go to NuriMuhammad.com and you can get lectures you can download on various subjects. I got 75 or 80 of them there, books that you can still get shipped to you there as well. And if not, if you know anyone in the States, I'll be in Buffalo, New York this weekend. I leave in the morning, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll be in Dallas, Texas, and then a week after that, we'll be in Houston, Texas. But follow my social media accounts at Nuri Muhammad, and all of that will always be there. And if you can't be there, but know somebody that is, invite them. I don't know how it would work, but I have a text community of over 3,600 people that I send out a free copy of every lecture that I do, at least once a week. That number in the United States is 317-548-8508. If it'll let you send it, I can hit the button and the lectures will come straight to your phone. So that's all I have to say, and that's all I can share. I wish I could be there with you, and hopefully in the very near future, I will.
Yes, sir. And thank you again, Brother Nuri. We appreciate you. We really enjoyed you, and we look forward to engaging you much sooner rather than later. So once again, and finally, spiritual injection, please give our special guest a spiritual injection, appreciation, and show your love.
Thank you so much, Brother Nuri. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. That was excellent.
Thank you so much. Next week, we're going to be going into part 2, family, of the same discussion, and we're going to keep this discussion going for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we look forward to your presence next week and beyond.